Funding for Curate, the Arizona Arts and Culture Fund, is made possible by Signal Society member Eleanor Light, and by you can become a curator of the arts on 8. For more information, call 602-496-8888.
And now, an 8 special presentation.
This time on Art Beat Nation. We snapped photos from high above.
You see it, a very familiar sight from a totally different vantage point.
Learn the makings of an American painter.
I like to leave enough room for you to think about beyond the painting, to see beyond the painting.
Enjoy a new spin on family game night.
It's filling this gap where they didn't really know where to go to have this kind of experience.
And take an inside look at the puppets of Warhorse.
Within minutes, this sort of almost skeletal horse becomes extremely real.
It's all ahead on this edition of Art Beat Nation. Funding for Art Beat Nation is made possible by donations to Curate, the Arizona PBS Arts and Culture Fund, and by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you. First, join us in Houston, Texas, where an architectural photographer is ascending to new heights, literally. Employing drone technology, this visionary is capturing the Bayou City like never before.
My process is very simple, and I try to be sort of as stealthy as possible and sort of quick as possible, remaining safe. I don't like rush it, but I like to sort of remain sort of unseen and not have people bother me and talk to me about it just because it's sort of a controversial subject. When you're on the ground, I don't think you really think about your surroundings a lot, especially in downtown Houston when a lot of people are still sort of unfamiliar with it. I think they have sort of blinders on when they're walking around in the street, so it sort of gives us just a different context. Houston Crossings is a project that I started a few months ago that is shooting intersections from above in a sort of grid-like way that they all sort of align, and it creates this sort of abstract view of the city. When I first got the drone, I just had this image of flying up from an intersection and seeing sort of the city grow out of that image. And as I started trying to do that, I realized how much I like to see, especially with this wide-angle lens, the buildings sort of splay out from an intersection, and you see it, a very familiar sight from a totally different vantage point. Texas and Crawford specifically, you see this construction project that's happening across the street that has these columns poured, these concrete columns and nothing else, so that you get this interesting sort of splaying of that grid. You get a glimpse of the stadium, but you don't really see much of the stadium. And it just gives a different, sheds a different light on the life of the city, I think. I studied architecture here at U of H, and I have been practicing architecture for 7 or 8 years now. But I started doing architectural photography here about 2 or 3 years ago, and I really just developed a love for that and documenting other people's spaces, essentially finished spaces, and seeing what other people are doing around the city. I think the great thing about drones is you're able to fly lower and into tighter spaces than you normally would be able to. The other thing that I think is really great is you have complete control over your exact positioning, and you can be very deliberate about symmetries and axes, and which is something that I do in the Houston Crossings thing. Is I'm very specific about making it very symmetrical, and so they all align really well. The drone is a pretty simple technology, really. This is a quadcopter, and as they get bigger, they have more rotors which spin in different directions to sort of control the direction or elevation. The camera mechanism is called a gimbal, which is to stabilize footage. All of the camera settings and everything are controlled from a mobile app, either on your phone or on a tablet or something. It's connected GPS satellite, so when I take my hands off the controller, it'll hover there so I can really focus on the shot. Most of my subject matter has been downtown. You know, Houston Crossing sort of stemmed out of that. It was a lot of the sort of extension of my cityscape photography. You can sort of center on a building and it sort of showcases where that building sits within the city in a really unique light. Well, you know, artistically, I think it really offers vantage points that you just couldn't get before. It's enabling filmmakers to get shots that are low-flying, smooth panning shots, and you know these really amazing artistic shots that wouldn't be able to have been done before, period. But when they would have been able to have been done, it would have been with helicopters. So I think it's really allowing people like me that wouldn't be able to do this the opportunity to see things from a light that they might not have been able to before.
For more, visit petermollick.com. The late Robert Butler was a self-taught American painter who is best remembered for his critically acclaimed landscapes. Join us as we learn what inspired and motivated this prolific artist.
I am Robert Butler. I'm a Florida landscape and wildlife artist. I've done that for 44 years. All the way back to the first, second grade, those early years, I could remember doing drawings and pencil and just being interested in things like that. I wasn't outgoing. I was a more introspective type of person, you know, sit down long times and think about things and observe things carefully. That was part of the process of developing into an artist. At this point, I'm free to ad-lib a little, so I'll add me a couple little trees in there. I grew up in Okeechobee, which is basically cattle ranching and farming and that type of atmosphere out there. That's where the colors came from. That's where the programming of colors came from. And so when I got to a little older and I ran into the color wheel, so to speak, the way to properly mix colors on a palette, I didn't like the color wheel. I liked the world that I could see through my own eyes. I definitely picked low-key colors that mimicked the environment that I was in. When they were mixed together, they gave me the reflection of the world I knew and I saw around me. When I landed in Africa in 1993, I began to pick out of the landscape the red tones. And I mean, they just literally gradually got stronger and stronger. The more I looked and the more I saw, the stronger and stronger those red tones came out. Everything starts out as an abstract. What the artist does is take those abstract images and bring them toward realism, or what we call realism. And my opinion about that is we can never create realism. We can create impressions of realism. I like to elaborate on the subject poetically. I don't like definite, hard, stated facts. I like to leave enough room for you to think about beyond the painting, to see beyond the painting and feel things that are not literally expressed in the painting. Collaboration on a painting might be compared to two people conversing about any commonly known subject. And the way the conversation takes place is that it will ebb and flow along the spontaneous reaction that we have to the moment in the conversation. And that's no different than what Rick and I were doing. We were collaborating with each other through color. And I think the guiding force, if anything, is that since we both know the same thing, that articulation of the mind as we work with the canvas, our mind is going to gravitate towards certain things that are more endear to us at that aspect of the landscape. And all I have to do is play off of what Rick puts on, and he plays off of what I put on. We both know the same place. And I think that's one of the greatest forms of painting there can be, is when that other person can read your thoughts through how you express yourself on canvas and then respond to that. I sold my first painting for, my first commission was $25. My daughter sold hers, I think, for over $1,000. And my wife sold her first painting for like $3,000. And I don't mean to brag about that in one sense, but it is a mark of how things have changed. My children got it by osmosis. I've researched history and everything. I can't find any other family that has 9 children that paint like the ones in my family do. That's because I'm just a proud father, you know. I only wish that they could give me 10% of everything they make and I could retire. Painting the Southern Landscape series sprang out of my contacts with James Fitch. He's always been interested in art, and we'd have some interesting conversation about the future of art in Florida. The sky just gave me a kind of a idea when I looked up at it. It's nice and soft and gray, and so I think I want to maintain that feeling here. I didn't know how long it took for me to do a painting, but when it came to that, they said you got 27 minutes. I ran a test on see how fast I could produce a painting. It took me an average of 3 hours to do one painting, but I found that light and color and shape were the principal elements that I needed to get expressed on the canvas. And it was almost instantaneously. I flashed back to that and could do the paintings in under 30 minutes. Apply those techniques, do the research, and produce that very fine Southern landscape painting that you want to produce. It can be done. So till the next time when we show you another scene, this is Robert Butler for Painting Southern Landscapes. I think if you boil it all down to its basics, it's been a life where I think I've been able to speak of exposing to the world that we are all basically alike. We see things alike, and that's been the success of my work, is that the image that I put on that canvas was simply who I am as a person. And the people who saw that and collected those art recognized me as a person, not as a African American, not as an American, not as anything but a human being. What that has taught me is that we are more alike than we are different.
To find out more, visit robertbutler.com. In this segment, we drop by Columbus, Ohio, where a board game parlor is sparking major buzz. New games and the beloved classics are drawing a fresh following of gamers. And they're giving the idea of game night an interesting spin.
23 to 18, so right now we're winning. And I say we just say we win and we take our treasure right now. Wait. No, too late. Too late.
It's 2.3 seconds.
She has 2 seconds.
I said too late like 3 times.
2.3 seconds.
Plenty of time.
Is that really written in the rules? Yeah, it is.
Kingmakers is a board game parlor, so it's a pretty straightforward concept. You kind of come in, we have a library of board games. We have board game sommeliers on hand to help you learn the games if you're unfamiliar with them, help you with instructions, rules, recommend a game. And then we have 8 taps of beer, 4 taps of wine. We're the only place in Columbus doing kegged wine. It's really the only place in Columbus between the coast that you can get this fully in the machine that it's supposed to be in. Delicious fresh wine. And especially soda pop. We do pretzels from Brazil in 3 flavors every day, and coffee, hot drinks, tea, things like that. I saw this concept in Toronto. It's called Snakes and Lattes in the spring of 2012. So if you can count back, it's been a long time in the works here. You know, it's kind of dragged there. I'd been spending a week in Toronto with a family friend, and she kept saying, "You got to go to this board game place, you know, cafe." And I kept saying, "That sounds terrible. I'm not a board game player." And you think of this dark, dingy, like coffee shop that has like these old copies of games that are missing pieces, you know, and went in and just had this fantastic experience. They have over 2,000 unique titles in their library there. I just loved it. And I said to the guy, you know, I think this would be great in Columbus. How do I do it? And he said, you know, good luck. Somebody asks me every day how I take this to a different city. And now that I'm here, people ask all the time. So I think he was pretty surprised when I emailed him back 3 months later and said, I'm working on it, you know, but it took a while. We have upwards of 250 games right now. We have a shipment for another over 75 games coming in by end of week. We have a shelf here that we call the Classics Game Shelf, which is our smallest shelf of games. Probably what you kind of grew up playing, everyone's kind of familiar with. We're certainly expanding in that area, but the majority of our games are this kind of new burgeoning industry. If you haven't played games in, you know, 10 years, 20 years, the industry's come so far, and they're these really imaginative, beautiful, creative games that are done by artists, they're done by designers. They're just magical. So really a shelf of, most of our shelves have these types of games on them. Sometimes you're in the mood for something where you're thinking a lot, or it's really involved, or you're, you know, wanting to go to a magical world or another dimension or something. Sometimes you're just in the mood, just have fun with your, you know, friends. And we have this shelf of games that we call party games. Snake Oil is probably one of our most popular of those. It's really fun. You're basically taking the mechanic of apples to apples and trying to sell your choice to your fellow players.
I'm a nurse.
What you need is clairvoyance. What you need is the ability to see into the future.
Preach, Brother Jake.
What you need is time news. And what time news can do for you is you can go in and you can tell that guy who was sitting there, look, man, I'm not gonna lie to you. You got 2 days left.
You know, I think the point of what we're doing here is really accessibility. We're making this industry that I think has really not had a wider audience, and trying to take that and make it accessible to everyone. So everything about this concept is designed to really get everyone comfortable in here trying something new. We opened up in January. It's a tough time to open a business. It's the coldest winter on record in a number of years. I think all that being said, I think Columbus is just really supportive of small businesses and new stuff, and people are really eager to try new stuff. So I think our reception there has been great. And I think for us, we've always been interested in creating a really consistent experience. So maybe this isn't something you're looking for every single night of the week, although I think some people are, but like if you're looking for this type of night, really chill, just kind of something to do with your friends and family. We hope that you think about us, and I think what we're finding is that folks, this is filling a niche for them. It's filling this gap where they didn't really know where to go to have this kind of experience. So we're hoping really just to keep doing that well.
Finally, we step on stage and meet the talented puppeteers behind the production of Warhorse. So, how do they breathe life into the star of the show, the Warhorse puppet? Stick around to find out.
We inspire so many people. We tear up, we're all saps for theater, and that's why we're here. And we love it. The magic works for us every single time, as it does for our patrons. Proctor's is a complex of theaters, and we have the main stage at Proctor's, and we have the GE Theater at Proctor's, where we are right now, which was built during our reconstruction, and it has 400 seats, and it's a nice complement to our much larger main stage. Warhorse was a wonderful surprise for us because it wasn't top of mind in the Broadway community with your average Broadway crowd. It wasn't singing and dancing and beautiful girls and handsome guys. And the message of Warhorse, it's unstoppable. It's been a terrific sales success, and we're very proud of the community to embrace a show that's not just your average Broadway show.
In 2004, an associate director came to the National Theatre of Great Britain, and he knew immediately coming in that he wanted to work with this puppet company, the Handspring Puppet Company, based in South Africa.
The inspiration for this horse actually came from a show that Handspring Puppet Company did before in the early 2000s called Tall Horse, which was a show about a giraffe. And the National Theatre of London had been visiting Handspring Puppet Company, saw that show.
There was some kind of talk about it, and then Handspring was approached and said, "This is perfect. We can, you know."
So they started on prototypes for making these horses. It took them a really long time to figure out how to make a lot of the mechanisms work. Most importantly, how to make a puppet bear weight and be able to move on stage. And they had lots of different ideas that they tossed out before they landed on this.
From that, one thing led to another, and they decided to create this piece of theater. They mounted the first production in 2007 at the National Theatre, and then it moved eventually to the West End. There have since been productions all over the world. The show starts and you see these 3 puppeteers with this horse on stage, and within minutes you don't see them anymore and you just see a horse. The 3 of them really work together to make you just see an animal on stage for the duration of the show.
I'm the hind puppeteer. We work on Joey and Topthorns.
I'm the heart puppeteer.
I'm the head puppeteer. And the 3 of us work together to create the character of Joey. Both his emotional life, his physical life. Everything that you see is the 3 of us. When you look at the horse, I mean, it's not intended to look like a living horse. There's no horse skin on it. It's not supposed to be, oh wow, that looks, you can't even see the puppeteers. But because of the natural materials and because of the suspension of disbelief, which, we hope to make easy for you, you completely forget about that. And within minutes, this sort of almost skeletal horse becomes extremely real.
When I first started out in terms of working on the puppet technically, my entire focus and my awareness was all about how do I make these legs move like a horse's front legs move, and so then I was basically just entirely focused on that, and as my awareness began to get larger and larger, the scope of my awareness, so that I was less worried about how the legs are and more worried now about what I'm being asked from my teammates and what I'm being offered from my teammates. And then as that becomes second nature, then all of a sudden you're able to react together while doing what you need to do, while listening to what you're getting from either your heart or whatever you're getting it from. And then also taking your impulses off of whoever's talking to this horse or whoever's stimulating this horse.
Suddenly, you just know what your teammates want without them saying anything to you. We don't talk to each other in the show, but Patrick can lean forward and push me just the slightest amount, and that's enough to know he wants to move forward, and it's really exciting.
The biggest compliment is when people say that we disappeared, and I do really take that to heart. When Joey comes out for his big bow at the end and we get a huge cheer, I mean, we know that's for us, and we're really proud to be a part of that. And the other thing I think that I'm really proud of is that this is a show that I think really stands for why live theater is still relevant. It's an experience you can't have anywhere else.
I would love for an audience to take away a very personal experience where they formed a relationship with a character who went on a journey that saw a conflict in a way in which they've never seen it portrayed before.
We deeply believe in this art form, and especially mixing, of course, Joey with it and the message with animals and horses, and there's so many horse people in the region. So this is just a perfect coming together, and we hope that as many people as possible can come out and share it with us.
For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find feature videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Artbeat Nation is made possible by donations to Curate, the Arizona PBS Arts and Culture Fund, and by contributions to AIT from viewers like you. Thank you.
Funding for Curate, the Arizona Arts and Culture Fund, is made possible by Signal Society member Eleanor Light, and by you can become a curator of the arts on 8. For more information, call 602-496-8888.